everyone, Daniel and Alex here with the Superhero Show. Now, this week we're going to do something a little bit different. We went to a presentation of Marvel's next movie, even though it's been made totally by Disney Animation, which is Big Hero 6.
Yep.
And we want to discuss it. Like, we didn't really know much about the film going in.
No.
We saw about 25 minutes worth of footage and a presentation by the producer who kind of gave us the skinny on the film, what it's all about, and we want to discuss why it's awesome. Now, shall I go through what the film's...
Yeah, give a quick, in a nutshell...
Okay, so it's set in a future city that is a hybrid of Eastern and Western civilization called... I can't say it.
San Francisco.
I want to say Tokyo.
San Francisco.
So it's Tokyo meets San Francisco, and it all centres on this little boy called Hiro, who is a kind of engineering prodigy.
He's a 40-year-old genius.
Yeah, it's like Tony Stark.
Exactly.
He's a mechanical savant, and he creates these things called microbots.
Yeah.
And one night there's a terrible accident, a loved one dies. This is not a spoiler, I think this is integral setup to the film.
Yep.
And he starts using his gift in other ways, so he befriends this personal healthcare robot called Baymax, and slowly through the course of the film they turn into a superhero fighting team.
Yes, because he calls upon his friends, and I think the one thing is that they don't have superhero powers, I guess, in the traditional sense. It is a lot more like Tony Stark. They're all geniuses, whether it's a physicist or a chemist or this, that and the other. They've got their own kind of skills and they build these kind of crazy superhero suits.
So we should talk about like how the production of this, because it's quite interesting, because it is a Marvel property. So when the Marvel acquisition happened with Disney, they bought it for like $4 billion or something. Apparently animators at Disney were kind of looking for next projects, and they were kind of keen. Hey, we've just bought Marvel. We're big Marvel fans. Can we work? They went to John Lasseter and said, "Can we do some Marvel characters?" And I think John Lasseter was resistant. They didn't want them making an Iron Man animated movie.
That would have been way too confusing, having animated versions alongside live action, I think.
So I think John Lasseter simplified here. They said, go back and find something that is more inherently Disney in the Marvel canon. And they came back with Big Hero 6, which is actually a little known 90s serial.
I'd never heard of it.
I think a lot of Marvel fans have never heard of it, really. And it's also, we should say, I went back and had a look at that series recently, and what they're doing in the film is totally different. Like, Baymax is completely different. Right. It's really adapting it for Disney. So what was your initial impression of the footage we saw?
Well, I think, firstly, I loved the presentation itself. It wasn't just half a dozen clips thrown together. It really was kind of setting the scene. The producer talked through some of the ideas and what it was trying to achieve. But I think, the thing that kind of, I guess, struck me at first was stylistically, it's a beautiful film. Like San Francisco itself is, staggering to look at. Whether you're on the kind of the city streets itself, and he was saying there's 80,000 individual buildings.
He said they got like the topographical survey of San Francisco from the American Geological Society, and then caricatured it.
And then throw in elements of Tokyo as well. So you've got
pagodas on top of skyscrapers, and things like that,
and those like wind turbines that are in in the middle of the air, and you're looking down over the Golden Gate Bridge, and it just looks a beautiful film, and I think that's from the setting itself, but then also through to the characters, because I think the second part that I probably loved more than anything was the humour, and that comes so effortlessly.
I was
because we saw
20 minutes worth of footage. It's very hard to build a connection with the characters in that amount of time. You haven't had all the right pacing and setup. But I was crying with laughter at some parts.
I don't think I've laughed
I genuinely
that much at an animated film, maybe even a live action film, for a long time. It's genuinely funny.
It's kind of thinking the moments that make me laugh. So there's great physical humour, even though it's animated. There's great animation that conveys a sense of physicality, particularly Baymax, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, there was a couple of scenes. The things that stuck in my mind were the scenes where it's a slightly painful thing to watch, and they just draw it on for too long, and I love that, and I've seen it in a number of films, but it's done so well in this. I think it might be in the trailer, but Baymax is an inflatable robot. He is a carbon fibre kind of skeletal skin with a
vinyl, and he's inflated because he's a healthcare robot. He wants to be cuddly. You don't want an intimidating robot giving you a jab.
But he gets punctured, and so there's this particular scene where he inflates his arm to see where his kind of punches are, and then slowly sellotapes them up. And it's I'm not doing it justice. It is just properly
and it just goes on for that little bit too long, almost like a little bit like a Family Guy gag. Where you think, it's going to end now, and it goes on for that little bit too long, then it becomes funny again.
Well, that's the Lego Movie did a really good job of doing that as well, and I think Baymax to me is going to be probably the biggest kind of Disney character for a long time.
Yeah, I think after Groot, he's going to be like
Exactly.
the adorable superhero.
And even his transformation, because as you say, he starts off this kind of cuddly robot who's all about healthcare, but then Hero transforms into this kind of badass superhero with this kind of Iron Man style suit, and he just felt like a cross between Iron Man with Mr. Stay Puft and I don't know the health robot from Star Wars. This kind of crazy combination, but just very, very lovable film. It's got a big heart.
Yeah, and I think what struck me about watching the footage is when the acquisition happened and everyone was like, oh my god, Disney have bought Marvel, what does this mean, what are the ramifications?
Yeah.
And I was actually thinking during the presentation and afterwards how alike a lot of the stories Marvel and Disney tell.
Yeah.
So Marvel and Disney are both kind of giants of popular storytelling in the 20th century.
Yeah.
But a lot of their stories are very, very similar. Like if you look at like Lion King and Spider-Man, they're both about personal tragedy, loss, grieving at an early age, and doing something with that grieving. Even Frozen, they lose their parents at a very young age, and it's dealing with power and responsibility and all these kind of life lessons that you always get in narratives aimed at kids, whether they're kind of Disney stories, Disney fairy tales, or whether they're comic book stories, they're coming of age stories. And I think what they found in Big Hero 6 is a kinship between the two, and they've kind of taken it away from Marvel, but not in a bad sense, just so they can give it the full Disney treatment.
Yeah, because they did say that, well, they're going to make it broader than what a traditional kind of Marvel movie.
Yeah, they want to make it. They want to make it still hit the same age range that a Marvel film would or a Marvel comic, but what Disney did, which is appeal a little bit younger and also a little bit older. Yeah. So the full spectrum, which is probably more the kind of modus operandi of Disney.
But I think the other key thing though is obviously the kind of brain trust within Marvel have been involved in this project from start to finish.
That's Kevin Feige and Joe Quesada.
Exactly. So it feels like a Marvel movie, and I don't know. I went into it with zero expectation, but came out thinking, actually, do you know what? I cannot wait to see this movie.
Would you want to see them tackle any more traditional properties, or do you think this is the sensible way of going about it?
It's one of those things that I would love to kind of see like an Avengers animated movie, but I just don't think you can do it when the live action thing is doing its
and it's doing
thing
so well
at the same time. Absolutely,
and it's so good as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what we thought of Big Hero 6. If you've got anything, let us know always at IGN_UK feedback at IGN.com. That ever memorable email address. I will change it one day. I've asked people on the show what the email address is for IT Help Desk, and they don't know.
Right.
So again, if you know, send it in. But that's all from us this week, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.